You walked out to your car one morning and found it sitting on its frame. Not stolen, just lowered. Someone had slid underneath in the dark, ran a battery-powered saw for 90 seconds, and taken something from your exhaust system you had never thought about once in your life. The repair bill was $3,000. Your insurance declared the car totaled, and the part those thieves cut free was already heading to a warehouse in New Jersey, where the profits would be wired offshore to a corporation trading on the Japanese stock market. Here is how a single component bolted under your car became the center of a $600 million criminal empire. The catalytic converter is a ceramic canister about the size of a loaf of bread, mounted to the underside of every vehicle built since 1975. Its job is to filter toxic exhaust gases before they leave your tailpipe. For 50 years, nobody cared about it. Nobody stole it. Then, in 2020, the global supply of three obscure precious metals went completely haywire: rhodium, palladium, platinum. These metals are the active ingredients baked into the ceramic core of every converter in America, and they are extraordinarily rare. South Africa produces most of the world's supply. When the pandemic disrupted the mines, prices went vertical. Rhodium, which you have almost certainly never heard of, hit $29,800 per ounce in March of 2021. That is 15 times more expensive than gold. Every car in America was sitting in a driveway with grams of it bolted underneath, completely unguarded, accessible to anyone with a $50 saw. Organized crime noticed immediately. In this investigation, we are going to follow the money from the moment a thief slides under your car all the way to a corporation listed on the Tokyo Stock Exchange, and show you exactly how they built this empire out of your exhaust system. The crime itself was almost embarrassingly simple. A battery-powered reciprocating saw from any hardware store, a flashlight, a second person as a lookout. Law enforcement officials consistently stated it could take as little as 10 to 20 seconds on the right vehicle. Front cut, back cut, and the converter drops right off. Police watched surveillance footage of thieves hitting hospital garages, church parking lots, and airport long-term lots. Anywhere a car sat still for more than an hour. The numbers tell the full story. In 2018, American insurers recorded just 1,298 catalytic converter theft claims nationwide. By 2022, that number had exploded to 64,701, a 1,215% increase in 4 years. Carfax, drawing from actual repair shop records, estimated the true 2022 figure at 153,000 stolen converters. That is 419 cut-off American vehicles every single day. Here is what made it so perfectly engineered for the criminal economy. You grabbed a part, threw it in a bag, and sold it for anywhere from $50 to $1,400 cash in under an hour. The Toyota Prius became the most targeted vehicle in America because its converter carried the highest precious metal concentration of any mass-market car, a scrap value exceeding $1,000. A Ford F-250 converter fetched $3,300 at the scrap window. But the most shocking element was not how easy the theft was. It was who was waiting on the other end to buy, and how far up the chain the money actually traveled. The thieves on the street were just the bottom rung. The real money was being made 3 layers up the supply chain, and the people collecting it were not in dark alleys. They were in office parks in New Jersey. Here is how the machine worked. Street-level thieves, sometimes gang members, sometimes individuals working alone at 3 in the morning, cut converters and sold them locally for $50 to a few $100s cash, no questions asked. That buyer consolidated shipments and sold to a regional middleman. The middleman stripped the outer casing, the process is called decanning, to extract the precious metal powder inside. That powder went to a processing company, which sold it to a refinery, which melted it down and sold pure rhodium, palladium, and platinum back into the global market. Completely clean, completely legal, completely untraceable. The man who built the processing empire at the center of this chain was Navin Khanna, 38 years old, of Holmdel, New Jersey. In February of 2020, just as the pandemic was taking hold across America, Khanna incorporated DG Auto Parts, LLC, in Freehold, New Jersey. He built a website and a mobile app displaying real-time converter prices by vehicle model code, making it effortless for every thief in the country to know exactly what their haul was worth. He made clear to every supplier that he would buy anything. When confidential informants explicitly told his operation that converters were stolen, DG Auto bought them anyway. Navin himself wrote in a Facebook message, "Every cat in California is stolen, I can promise you that." His suppliers stretched coast to coast. In Sacramento, a family operation led by Tu Su Vang sourced stolen converters from thieves affiliated with the Tiny Rascal Gang and shipped them east to New Jersey. The Khannas were so satisfied with this pipeline that they purchased a $1.2 million house for the Vang family to keep the supply flowing. In Oklahoma, Tyler James Curtis ran Curtis Cores, processing 5,000 to 6,000 converters per week. When police stopped his vehicle in 2021, they found 128 converters, cocaine, heroin, a loaded handgun, and $9,900 in cash. Curtis kept $500,000 in a desk drawer, and here is where the story becomes something else entirely. DG Auto was not selling to a black market fence. It was selling to Dawa Metals and Mining America, a subsidiary of Dawa Holdings, a company listed on the Nikkei 225. Bank records revealed that over $224 million had flowed from Dawa into one DG Auto account and $175 million into another. Precious metal powder stripped from stolen American vehicles was being processed at Dawa's Burlington, New Jersey refinery and shipped into the global supply chain. The pipeline ran from a thief in a church parking lot at 2 in the morning to a corporation on the Tokyo Stock Exchange. And right then, before a single arrest had been made, before a single law had changed, 2 people were about to die for it. On March 31st, 2022, Harris County Sheriff's Deputy Darren Almendarez, a 51-year-old father who worked the auto theft unit, spotted 3 men in a grocery store parking lot cutting the converter from his own Toyota Tundra. He confronted them. They shot him dead. Texas later named its enhanced converter theft law the Deputy Darren Almendarez Act in his honor. Then, in the early hours of May 25, 2024, an actor named Johnny Wachter, known to audiences as Brando Barrett on General Hospital, finished a bartending shift in downtown Los Angeles and walked to his parked car. 3 men were underneath it with a saw. Wachter was unarmed. His hands were open at his sides. They shot him anyway. He was 37 years old. For ordinary victims, the damage was financial but equally devastating. State Farm alone paid out $115 million in converter theft claims in 2022, averaging approximately $2,500 per claim. Insurance companies routinely totaled older vehicles rather than approve a $3,000 repair on a car worth $4,000. Honda Element owners reported dealer quotes of $4,800 on vehicles their insurers valued at under $3,000. The car was gone, and the part that destroyed it had long since been reduced to powder and shipped to a refinery overseas. On November 2nd, 2022, the Department of Justice announced Operation Heavy Metal, the first national takedown of a catalytic converter theft ring. 21 defendants across 9 states, $545 million in forfeitures sought. When Navin Khanna pleaded guilty in July of 2025, he admitted to selling more than $600 million in stolen goods. Seized assets included a Lamborghini, 2 Ferraris, a McLaren, gold bars, and $4 million in cash. His Sacramento supplier, Tu Sui Vang, received 12 years in federal prison, the longest sentence in the case. 31 states passed new anti-theft laws within 2 years. The Federal Part Act, which would require manufacturers to stamp vehicle identification numbers onto every converter at the factory, passed a congressional subcommittee 3 times and still has not been signed into law. Toyota quietly redesigned the 2025 Tacoma to place the converter inside the engine bay, where no saw can reach it. No other major manufacturer has followed. Rhodium has rebounded to over $10,600 per ounce, more than double its 2024 low. Right on schedule, converter thefts in St. Paul, Minnesota nearly tripled in 2025 from 172 incidents to 504, despite that state having one of the toughest anti-theft laws in the country. The criminal infrastructure is still intact. The buyers are still operating. 280 million combustion vehicles are sitting in American driveways with unprotected precious metals underneath them right now. The scam did not end. It took a pause. If you found this investigation useful, hit subscribe. We cover the stories underneath the stories that nobody else explains this way.